Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Kyle Schrum and Joe Courtney. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Yes, I'm back.
Guess who's back again.
Guy takes
On his third vacation this year.
Guy takes one trip, misses one podcast. I missed 0 podcasts for Tanzania. I missed 1 podcast, and I'm a degenerate. I'm just terrible, not showing up to work.
Who is this guy?
Well,
welcome back. Now we're missing Ashley. It's like we can't get everybody all together at the same time, but that's what happens when everyone grows up and gets new hobbies and
just grow further apart.
All right, we should probably get into some stuff. All right. We're going to get into a study today, which is actually really cool because I think a lot of our athletes will benefit from knowing about like training session order and can you mix up days. People get stressed out about that stuff all the time. And I've never actually seen a study on it. Apparently there are other studies on it too. I just had not seen them before. So it's really cool to jump into this stuff. And I think it'll kind of cut through some of that bro science that we talk about, about what people believe to be true, or maybe what you should do. And we can get to what the science actually says you can do. So we'll get into that. We have a good workout today, under pressure, which is a fun one if you don't like your calves. And we'll get into some other stuff about moving training around and how we do it. So let's get into it. The actual name of the study is Effects of a Flexible Workout System on Performance Gains in Collegiate Athletes. This study was done in 2021. Joe is super excited because it was done on collegiate lacrosse players. There were 15 men and 17 women who completed the study. So 32 total Division III collegiate lacrosse players. All subjects completed a 6-week familiarization program before their 8-week intervention. And the main reason they were doing the study was to compare the effects of flexible and fixed order training templates equated for session types on gains in strength, power, and agility over 8 weeks in both men and women. So to get into that a little bit more, the flexible training group could choose between 4 options for their daily workout, while the fixed order group had a predetermined weekly training order. Each group trained 3 times per week. So just to lay that out even more clearly, there's the fixed and the flexible. So fixed, just think of following a training program without deviation, without variation. This is day 1, week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, so on and so forth. They just followed the program. In the flexible training group, they would kind of come in and they couldn't do whatever the hell they wanted, which would have made me completely dismiss this study. I would have been like, nope, not interested. So it wasn't random. It was more like, hey, here are 4 different options for you to pick from for today. And you can kind of pick based off of how you're feeling and you choose one. And so that's really cool. And I think it's really applicable for our athletes, people who like I mentioned just a minute ago, people getting out of order or maybe life gets in the way. So I think it's super applicable about what the science says on the results, which we'll get into. But what did you guys think about this study?
So first, I think it's always really great when we're like telling people to do things, and then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, now we have a study. So here's the official science answer.
I love it when it happens in reverse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, usually it happens with the study first, and then we change, but now it's like, cool. Yeah. Prove it. Anyway, yeah, I really, really liked this is something that's been happening recently in some studies that we've brought up or we've gone over, and that is having a familiarization period before you get into a training protocol. I think that is really awesome, especially if you're dealing with newer athletes. And now these are collegiate athletes, so I don't know if a familiarization was as important, but that build up to get them adapted to whatever you're putting them through training wise, and then you set a baseline. So it's like a advanced baseline so that you're not just getting like these inflated metrics of no matter who you put in there, they're gonna get great at it.
Yeah, when they like bring in like, hey, these 19 people have never exercised a day in their life. Let's see if they get stronger from these milk jugs. And you're like,
yeah,
milk jugs, science. You know,
yeah. I think there's a recent one that was like you could not have lifted weights in the last 2 years or something. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
The next part, branching off of the selection of the days of the workouts that they did. So they used Team Builder. Also, a really
I
cool
saw
thing.
that. That was awesome.
Yeah, which we haven't seen. And if our athletes know, there's like questionnaires and things you could be asked on Team Builder. So they were asked a series of questions, whether they felt, green, rating how they feel today, green, yellow, or red. Red, they got to skip the training day. Yellow, they did either a low intensity or low volume day. Green was high intensity or high volume. So that whatever they rated themselves that day, they got whatever they were feeling proportional to that. And red was I didn't see if there was any like limitations to red days. They couldn't just be like, yeah, I'm skipping all these days and or on or anything. I didn't see those specifics, but I thought that was also really cool as well for the flexible group. So that and everybody has these feelings of these training days, and on top of the three training sessions part of the study, they were doing 2 agility days and a conditioning day. So they're actually training 6 times or 6 training sessions in the week. So that could have affected how they felt as well. But those were really, really cool. It's kind of expected to see not that many strength gains from this because it's only 6 weeks and strength gains kind of take longer to do. So those were kind of null, but the agility and the jump had a somewhat significant benefit to the ones that were flexible planning, and that could be due to that they were either mentally checked in or how they were feeling. Being explosive and moving fast, if you're sore, you're probably not going to be very explosive or fast that day. But if you're feeling good, feeling green, then that just kind of shows that it's some flexibility could benefit in training to a certain degree. The only thing that I had an issue with for the limitations of the flexible training, which Jerry, you said you were glad that they had parameters, but they were kind of situated so that you couldn't repeat the same day on the same day of the week, the same type of training on the same day of the week. So like, right. I don't know if that ever led to somebody getting to like the final week and it's like, oh, well, I actually don't have any flexibility on this day because I've already used those other 3 days. So I don't know if they actually ran into that, but since they had 4 choices and 3 training days, I guess they might have overlapped in certain different ways for how they were feeling.
Those four choices. Yeah, I think I'd have to do the permutations to see how many selections they actually have. But I kind of wondered that too. And I think they were just trying to force it to not be too random, essentially, to where you don't see enough of a stimulus to actually still be in a training program.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think even if the findings the findings may kind of lean toward the flexible group, but even if it didn't, just from a mental standpoint, if you're much more focused and ready to do this other training session versus this one, and you both have to do both of them within the next week, then just swap the days. If it's going to make you execute that one better or make you go to the gym more likely, then just swap the days. And we've gone over how being mentally dialed in for workouts makes a big difference in past studies anyway. Those are my quick thoughts to it. I will pass it on over to Kyle.
So, yeah, I thought it was really cool that it showed that the outcomes were similar for each group, whether you were following the fixed protocol or the flexible protocol. I thought that was really cool. And it kind of seems to, even if it wasn't an expressed aim of the study, it seems to like have tested people's mental toughness a little bit. Just by asking them, at least in the flexible group, just kind of asking them, okay, how are you feeling today? And I think there's probably an unreported and unchecked, like mental toughness degree there that they weren't really looking for. But how are you feeling today, and what is your choice going to be based on how you feel? Like, are you actually pushing through? Like, are you really feeling a red today, but you're going to push through and do a yellow? Or are you feeling, a green today, but you don't really want to for some reason, so you're going to go yellow or something like that? Like, I think that's kind of part of it too, that they didn't really check. And it's kind of probably hard to check anyway, but that's just something that I was kind of thinking about just reading through it of, and unmarked consequence of it was kind of the mental toughness thing, which we talk about a lot as well. But just kind of, I liked that they were measuring people's mental state with this, and which I've talked about even recently. I've talked about how fascinated I am just by RPE, just by the mental aspect of training, of just how your mentality can affect your training. And I really liked this study because of that. It was looking at that. Obviously, it's absolutely applicable to garage gym athletes because we have to be adaptable. We have to be flexible with our training, just because we're not, professional athletes. Most of us, we're not collegiate athletes, right? Who are going to school and who are on teams and are basically, that's kind of our job. You know what I mean? Is to work out and to train and things like that. So we have to adapt and we have to be flexible and things like that. And what I like to see was that the flexible plan didn't increase their gains. It didn't increase their performance. It didn't decrease it either, though, so it was the same outcomes no matter what. And so to me, that just says, do the work no matter what. It's like, whether you can follow it direct, exactly, or whether you can't follow it exactly, you got to modify it a little bit, maybe. That's okay. What's important is doing the work. And so that was my biggest takeaway from it, was now we have science, kind of like what Joe was saying. Like, this is what we've been saying all along, but now we have science to back it up. Doing the work is the most important thing. And so that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah. So it was a really cool study. The study is kind of written in a negative slant towards not flexible training, but the hypothesis of the study was that flexible training would be more advantageous than fixed order training. And I thought that interesting, because if you asked me to create a hypothesis for this, I probably would have said fixed order training might edge out slightly flexible training, but it didn't. They're basically the same. That's the big takeaway, right? Whether you're doing fixed order training, so 100% discipline, sticking to every single day, or you're mixing things around a little bit, but still within the program, then you were okay you saw the same amount of results. So they did have like a slight negative slant of this. Yeah, flexible training didn't do as well as we thought, but it did just as well as fixed order training. And that's where I think most coaches and people following programs would be, because people get really militant about this day 1, day 2, day 3. Like, and then when that cycle breaks, you break that chain. This is where that, going back to that mental state is you're not perfect, right? So now you start to not stick to the program because you feel like you screwed the whole thing up. And the same thing happens with diet. And so this is showing you that you don't have to be that strict with your program. It still needs to be a written training program. That's a big takeaway and a big win for Garage Gym Athlete. It cannot be randomized training, but we program for what we want is 4 mandatory sessions per week. Meet Yourself Saturday is the optional one on Saturday. And so you can mix those up all that you want. And what's interesting is Ashley messaged us before we started the podcast, and she's like, "Hey, I did tomorrow's workout today." And I think we all probably do stuff like that all the time. And we'll talk about that once we kind of get into the topic. But the science agrees with that being okay. So I think I thought the hypothesis was interesting from the researchers, that they thought flexible training would be more advantageous. But this also kind of like, this is like a interesting, I guess, sidestep for me, is it's kind of like makes Whoop irrelevant. This like green day, red day, yellow day, like it doesn't really matter, guys. Like, as long as you're getting the training in. And I've talked about when I used to wear a Whoop, I do not anymore, that I could PR on a red day, because I thought Whoops whatever parameters were a little off sometimes. I feel like they put too much weight on heart rate variability and all this other stuff. But anyway, it just kind of goes against that. And I would never make those decisions when I wore a Whoop. I'd never be like, red day, but I'm supposed to do a harder workout. I wouldn't really make those decisions because I just would go off of how I feel. But I think making those decisions away from technology and on and how you feel is the best way to do it. And they had these red training, right? They do a questionnaire, and if you were red, you wouldn't train that day. And they do the same in aviation. In the Air Force, they have operational risk management, and this is across all operations. But it's a basic questionnaire. I don't know if anyone actually really follows it, to be honest, but we're taught it, and like it's a thing. But if you answer so many questions in a negative, and you ultimately end up with a certain amount of points, aka you're red, you're not supposed to fly that day, or you're just not supposed to operate that day. And that's how the military would work. And I thought it was very interesting that they were taking it that far here with training, because I don't know if I've ever been like that down to where I'm like, I mean, I'd have to be sick, right? But I've never been like, you know what, today is not a workout day. And I'm not saying that if you have those, that's fine, but like it just will change maybe what I'm doing as opposed to whether or not I do something. I'm always going to do something. So, yeah. So again, the findings show very similar rates of progress in all outcome measures between groups. So huge win for the garage gym athlete. You can mix our days around if you want to, and it's not a big deal so long as you get all the days done. I also had the same takeaway that they use Team Builder. I thought that was cool. If you're not familiar with Team Builder, it's because you're not one of our athletes. Go to garagegymathlete.com. You'll figure out Team Builder real fast. And Team Builder is completely useless without us. So you could just download it from the App Store and do nothing with it. But you're going to need us to make it a useful tool. But that's about it. Let's get into how the athletes could kill some comfort and utilize this information. Kyle.
Yeah, so I said do the work every day. That's how you kill comfort. You do the work every day, even if it's not the prescribed work. Now, and I like that point that you made of it wasn't just random, right? It's not just random stuff. Okay. The people going through the study, and this is something else that I forgot about, but the workouts for both fixed and flexible protocols here were written by a strength and conditioning coach. And so those were the workouts they were doing. It wasn't just, researchers coming up, okay, you guys are going to do a bunch of leg press. No, like a strength and conditioning coach was in here. And these, even on the flexible plan, like you had workouts to choose from a strength and conditioning coach. They were programmed specifically for these protocols. And so that's what I liked. And so do the work every day, but it doesn't mean just throw everything out and just, I don't know, frolic through the gym and just find out what you want to do that day. It's like, do it every day, but try to follow it. And that's kind of what I was going to talk about later is try to follow it as much as you can, but don't give up when everything kind of falls apart and you need to change it up a little bit. But if you're flexible or you're fixed, you're going to see gains. So do the work every day, do something.
I like the image of frolicking through one's gym.
Yeah. Okay. Am I going to use dumbbells? Am I going to use kettlebells? Oh, the sandbag. Let's do the sandbag. No, like
people who frolic through gyms probably use 2.5s.
They're using change plates for sure.
Anyway, for mine, I would say, I mean, you can't, there's always so many takeaways for this, but just related to what Jerred was talking about with Whoop and everything is whenever it's a yellow or a red day, that's just when you focus on recovery. Like you still do the training, but you focus on the after the recovery. And that's when that's how you do your shift. So instead of taking it out on your workout, unless it's like you need to actually switch stuff around, which again, we'll go over, but put that energy or put that focus on your recovery instead of the workout aspect of, so you're still getting the work done, but make sure you're recovering.
Yeah. And I think stuff like Whoop or whatever is, and I've said this before, I think it's more beneficial for much more advanced athletes, like people who do train 2 to 3 times per day, multiple times per week, because you're moving away from health, right? And we've talked about that continuum before. You're kind of moving away from health and you're moving heavily towards performance, and performance comes at a cost. So, the the highest performing athlete in the world is not the healthiest human being in the world. They are not anywhere close to the same. And so I think these tools can be important for stuff like that. But to kill comfort in this, I'm going to go with the people who are the militant, won't make a change. Like, okay, it's okay to make the change. Like, get uncomfortable by not being perfect. If you're a perfectionist, going back to kind of last week's study, like, it's okay to move these days around. I do this quite frequently. I wouldn't say it's uncommon. It's not what I do every single week, but it's definitely something I do. And so we can talk about those things. So I think to kill comfort, just don't worry so much about the days in the order, and just get all the work done. And I think that's ultimately there's a huge mental aspect to training, but at the end of the day, the stimulus on your muscles or your cardiorespiratory system, they are what they are. The only thing the mental side of this really brings to it is your exertion. Like, if you're not feeling it that day and you had a hard day, I bet you could still run as fast as you normally would that day. Like, whatever, if you had to go for a PR mile, I'm sure you'd get pretty close because your body's just already trained for it. But your mind is different. Your mind is feeling different. It doesn't want to push. And that's different. But your muscles are going to respond the same. Your lungs are going to respond the same. Your heart's going to respond the same. That's different if you're dehydrated, you didn't sleep. Those things can actually affect your heart rate and everything else in your actual recovery. But yeah, just do it. Do the work like Kyle said. Don't worry about the order as much, which moves us to our topic of the day. So we are kind of talking about what we do, right, Joe? Like how we move things around and what adjustments we make, if any, in the training.
Yep. So whether it's moving it because of not feeling great, whether it's other things that might be going on, how and why and when we adjust our training, because we don't stick to, the same perfectionist of, this workout says I should do it on Monday, so I'm gonna do it on Monday, and then Tuesday kind of thing. Or even, I guess, other modifications if you want to get into that. But yeah, Jerred mentioned that Ashley just did this. I literally just did this week. I just got back from traveling, and I told you guys, but not pseudo update. Friday night, we had a 9-hour layover overnight in an airport. So like sitting in a brightly lit airport, I got, according to my Aura, an hour and 20-minute nap, which I even call BS on that much, for a Friday night. So then into Saturday, we were just like zombies, and we went to bed and had like 10 hours of sleep, in bed for 11.5 hours. Good, great. That was fine. But like, you can't recover one night from sleep for missing a night of sleep. Our training week starts on Sundays. So after that long night of sleep, we were just like, okay, let's start our training week. But I was no way, shape, and form ready to do squats. Typically we squat on Mondays. We were not ready to do squats. So we swapped squats with press day. Press day is usually a little bit less taxing. It takes a little bit less of being dialed in, if anything. So we did that, and it just happened. And then now today I did squats. So yeah, swapping days happens all the time, whether it's after traveling, for the weekend or something. If something else happened over the weekend, I don't know what it might have been, but swapping squats with strict press happens a lot. Or so there's been times where some squat days have been just really, really kick your butt, and the DOMs are serious. Like whenever I decide to put in a lot of walking lunges, they get serious, and mine might be like, I think I'm going to move Thursday zone 2 rest day to tomorrow because I need to work this out a little bit better. Kyle, what about you?
So I try not to modify the programming if I can help it. I try not to. That's kind of something.
The beginning of BCT, I was thinking about this. Like, yeah, it was almost impossible to play this game if you're squatting like 2 or 3 times a week, because to do that would mean like, okay, I'm squatting today and tomorrow if I move this around. Yeah. But yeah, it's been very difficult. I was thinking about that. I mean, the programming's changed a lot over the course of us doing it, but it's very hard to do in this program.
Yeah, doing the heavy squat volume 2 days in a row was just not happening. So I stuck with it. It was squat, run, squat, run, squat, run. It's like, I'll manage my effort each day, but like, I'm not moving the days around because I'll die. But yeah, I try not to modify it if I can help it. That's something that I think I run into this with the athletes a lot as well, of asking me how to modify things. And there's nothing wrong with modifying things, especially, as prescribed. You need to scale things, all that that's one thing, but kind of moving things around and modifying things is something different. So to me, there's a caveat to kind of like what we're talking about. I kind of alluded to it a little bit already, but if you have someone programming for you, do your best to follow the program that they write for you and follow it the way that they write it. Especially if they're any good at programming, they're working all of that stuff in mind. Like Jerred just said, like if you're doing a program that's doing a lot of heavy squat volume, a good programmer is not going to put 2 consecutive days of heavy squat volume. They're going to work in something to move things around and spread that volume out across the week so that you're not overloading it too much. And so I would say, and what I try to do, I try to follow the program as it's written. But as I've also said already, we are garage gym athletes, and we call ourselves that for a reason, because we're not professionals and we have lives, we have families, we have jobs, we have to work around all kinds of different things. Like, especially if you're thinking about, like I said, that I try to work around an injury or a sickness. Those don't happen to me very often, but especially when we talk about having families and stuff, your kids get sick. That moves your training. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's just what happens. Sometimes you have to work late, things like that. Your work schedule changes where you can't work out in the morning anymore. You got to work out in the evening. You got to move things around. And so that's kind of, I try to stick to it as much as I can, the way that it's written, but I also will modify as needed. One thing that I will modify, I'll typically use a training max for lifting days during the cycle. Instead of using like my true 1 rep max, I'll typically use a training max.
What is a training max?
So the training max is typically 90% of your 1 rep max. And so that I'll actually just go into Team Builder, and whatever my max was that I set on Fit Week, I'll just change it to my current max is whatever 90% of that is. And then Team Builder will do all the calculations based off of the training max instead of off the true 1 rep max. And so that's typically what I do. But even with that, I'm still typically not. And by doing that, you're kind of lowering the volume a little bit and lowering the intensity a little bit from your true 1 rep max. And that way I don't have to change the weights again. Like once I get to the day, it's like I've already lowered it by this much anyway from my true 1 rep max. So it's taking a little bit of the intensity down for me. So I just modify it that way. That way I can try to stick to it as prescribed. Some days I need to lower it a little bit more. Some days that's just what happens. But I try to just get ahead of that by using a training max instead. So that's probably the biggest way that I modify it.
Yeah, I'll pick up right where you left off there. Training max is a huge one for me. I think I almost always operate on a training max. And it's just, it's better for lifting long-term, I think, because I'm not in a hurry to do basically anything. So I'm always okay with operating off my training max, unless it's specifically like BCT. There've been some times where it's going to be better to just go harder, go a little bit heavier. And I ended up getting injured in that process too. So I probably should stick to the things that I know of. Let's just play with a training max. And then there are some days where it's not even training max. It's just like, I'm not squatting more than this today.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what percentage it is. I might be like working up and I'll be like, this is it for today. Like I can just tell. Like if 75% for some reason that day was like super freaking hard, I'll just be like, I'm not going to try to add to this. Let's just live to fight another day, get some volume in. That's also rare. Like Kyle said, moving days around is rare. But what happens to me most often when I move things around in the training week it's not what I don't feel like doing. It's what I feel like doing. It's like I'm more in the mood for this. And so I do it. And that happens. It's very different. Like some days it can be strength and some days it can be conditioning. And so I'll just be like, it might be a strength day. And I'm like, I'm way more in the mood to do intervals, or, something monostructural, one single movement repeated over and over again, and not worrying about racking and unracking weights and like trying, going heavy. And then some days I'm like, I don't want to run for an hour today. I think I would rather squat. So I would flip the days based off of kind of what I want to do. And that's auto regulation is what they call it. And essentially what this study tested, and there's no big deal in doing it unless I were to get way outside of my scope and just, start doing random things, shortcutting things or whatever. You don't want to get too far. So I'm never like reaching into next week's workouts and like pulling them to this week, because our athletes can't even do that. But you're just getting too into the weeds at that point, and you're mixing things around too much. But that's really how I do it most of the time, is what do I feel like doing the most? And then most of the time, other than that, I'm just sticking to the program. And I do feel like injury is a different thing. Like my back, I think I'm back to normal. I'm a little like, I'm still not going all the way heavy. I've added some, but I'm feeling good. But I haven't been running, right? All my conditioning has been on some sort of an erg. So there's been no running at all. And my back squats haven't been super heavy until more recently. I've been getting up there again. So I'm a little bit afraid to go back to the full running squat combo. What's going to happen at the end of BCT is I'm just going to be really fit on an erg and with a decent squat. I'm not going to be at the 500 5-minute that I wanted to be unless I continue probably for another year if I can do it without injury. But anyway, injury is a different thing altogether. Like that's you're making substitutions for things. Like I said, I'm not running anymore. I'm on the erg. And I've said this before, and I want to make sure athletes hear it again. When you have a problem, that becomes the program. Okay. And it's not that I'm not doing the program anymore. I've just selected, I kind of found out through trial and error that I think it was the combination of squatting and running together, high volume, and my back was not able to recover. It's not the thing that maybe caused the injury. Like something else may have caused the injury, but the fact that I kept doing them and wouldn't relent is what made the injury not wanting to go away. And then once I adjusted, like, okay, I'm only on the erg now. I'll still squat. My back is seriously like 99% right now. There's only some days where I'm like, that's a little tight. But that was the adjustment I had to make. And so those are kind of two different things, moving days around or selecting different exercises based off of what you can do. But what I didn't do was nothing. I didn't just be like, I can't do anything. So just know those. And more often than not, I'm sticking to the program. And I kind of thought about this after I was reading the study. Like if I had to just let's say I wasn't allowed to operate off of an actual program, like I couldn't do hard to kill, or, I couldn't do BCT. What would I do? I would print off the body geometry template that we have. Our coaches have this. Body geometry is what we do in our deload weeks, if the athletes are wondering what that is. And it's great superset. It covers every plane of movement, not every day, but over the course of a week. If you do 3 of these training sessions in a week, you cover every plane of movement, every muscle contraction style. It's a really awesome, basically strength protocol. But I would just follow that 3 days per week. Choose the day I felt like doing. I couldn't repeat, obviously. I'd be like, okay, I did lower, I did upper, and go through that, and then conditioning on the other days. If I just had to go at random, that would be my style of random that I would do for the rest of my life, probably. And science says it would be okay, because that's what I would do. But that was super random thought. But I was just trying to think of if I was forced into that situation. I won't put that evil line.
I totally do that. I mean, whenever that's kind of how Sexy Saturdays were born. I didn't want to do a Meet Yourself Saturday, so it was kind of like a body geo day, because I would do at least 3 different types of supersets, and then I might do some intervals on the Airdyne that we used to have, and that was basically Saturday, because that's kind of what I felt like doing. That's kind of I felt like I needed to have some certain specific accessory work that I wanted to work on anyway, and it was just that's what I did. And
that's what BCT will turn into after this last cycle. It'll just be body geometry and 3 different energy systems trained on a week, and it'll just be on repeat for a year. That's
all right. I'll make the jump.
Yeah, I just decided.
But another reason, which I mean, it kind of rolls into my next point, is that some days, especially if you have like either stressful jobs, crazy hectic jobs, days, something like that, there's days where I just want a boring training session to where I don't have to think about different movements, different things, setting up different stuff. And I mean, it's good to have variety, but there's days where I just want a boring day. I just need to turn my brain off and just either go for a long run, just do some lifting, and whatever it is, simple, boring. And if depending on what the week looks like, I might swap for one of those days, do like a weighted carry for a while, and then that's my boring day.
That's interesting. Kyle, do you feel the same way? Because I'm the same.
Yeah.
Are you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some days I'm just like, I really don't, which this is kind of the reason that I try to just stick to the program as it's written, is because I don't want to bring my brain into it. Right?
Yeah.
Like
I don't get a vote.
The reason I follow, the programming is like, when I go to the gym, I don't want to have to make it up. Like, I don't want to have to think about what I'm doing. I want to write down on the board what I'm doing. And the only thing I have to think about is putting the weight on the bar or whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, I want to take my brain out of it every time. But then there's other days where it's like, I don't even want to think about what's written on the board. Like, you know what? I'm just going to go run. And that's the most boring thing in the world. And I don't have to think about it. I'm just going to go run. And that's it. And I'm done for the day. And
what's funny is like, there must be, this should be studied too, but there's got to be some sort of mental fatiguing factor too. Cause we're talking about, if we're stressed out and it's a hard day, we're kind of avoiding strength. We're like, yeah, there are too many different movements. The shit's heavy. I have to rack. I have to unrack. Math. There are a lot of little decisions in strength work, as opposed to running almost at any zone. Like I actually, if I'm having a bad day, I'd still rather run at zone 4 than have to do all that. But it wouldn't be my desired, probably zone 2, right? But like, yeah, just like you said, Joe, like, either put something on my back and let me walk for a couple miles, or just a long run. It takes almost no brain activity, and you can just get it done, without any mental fatigue factor.
Well, I kind of feel like too with strength work, it's like if I'm wanting to have like a boring training session and just really just completely turn my mind off, I really try to focus on strength work. Like, I'm focused on all the different things. Like, I need to move properly. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to walk in here and throw weight on the bar and start squatting, and I'm not worried about how I move. You know what I mean? And so to me, that's still like, there's, it's like you were saying, like, there's brain activity there. I'm still having to think about things. And so even if I just decide to go super light and just rep out a whole bunch of reps, it's still just like, I'm not just going to come in here and just not move properly, so to me, it's like, it's the easiest thing. Just, get on a bike or just, put the running shoes on and go for a run or something like that. Or, like you said, load up some weight and walk with it or something like that. It's like, that's as mindless as it gets. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
Garmin is great for this. Cause like last year when I was in flux and all that craziness and getting ready to move, and it's hard to follow training, and when I just wanted to go for a run, all of my previous like run workouts are saved in my Garmin. So I would just like leave the house ready to run and like scroll through my watch, be like, that looks like a good run workout. And I did it. And then there's even like this little widget activity thing you can download, and it is a fartlek that programs for you. And you put the time parameters. It's like, okay, the run intervals can be 1 to 5 minutes. The rest intervals can be 1 to 5 minutes. You tell me when to go. You tell me when to stop. And it doesn't even tell you the time. That was like really intense though, because I had no idea when I had to stop running. But that was just this complete brain off. Like, I couldn't even know it when I was done or anything. So
purely reactionary.
Yeah, it was kind of, actually, that was kind of stressful, because I'm like, I'm running hard. I could be doing this for another 2 minutes. I have no idea. Yeah.
That's very hard when sprinting, because you don't, there's a definite difference between a 100-meter sprint and a 400-meter sprint speed.
Yeah. But either way, Garmin was great for that, because days where I was just like, I need to do something today. I need to go out for a run. I'm just going to look at one of these that I already have, and then done.
That's like kind of the same thing with lifting as well. Like, if I'm really frustrated, had a stressful day or something like that, and then I'm not moving properly, or like I don't rep out as many reps as I wanted to or something like that, then I'm just like, then I get frustrated about that. And that just kind of compounds on it. You know what I mean? Whereas I can just go for a run. I don't really care how I perform with running. Just go turn my brain off for a little bit and then come back.
Yeah. Move the days around. Just don't skip them all together. Right. And the strength, when I was on BCT, I'm still on BCT, but when we were on BCT doing like what I was talking about, like squat, run, when it was way more aggressive on the volume side of it, earlier in the year. And when we first started, I couldn't move the days around. Right. We talked about that, because you'd end up squatting twice back to back, and it's not easy squatting back to back. And so when I would get into that situation, I just didn't feel like squatting that day. Just a tip for everyone else, I would go super micro goal of like, I would even like tell myself like, I don't know if I'll finish this training session, but I'm going to do the next set. And I have to lie to myself all the time when I get into those situations. Whenever my brain wants to think about something I don't want to think about, I lie to it. I just straight up lie to myself. Hey, we'll think about this later. Don't worry about it right now. Like I'll do that if I'm having trouble falling asleep because I'm like thinking about too many things. Just lie to myself. Like, yeah, we'll think about that in the morning. Don't worry about that, brain. And then boom, asleep. And I do the same thing in training. I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna do this one set. I don't know if I'll go beyond that, and then we'll see. Then by the time you're done with a workout, you did everything because I'm not actually going to quit a training session. Come on. So anyway,
brain, I tricked you.
Yeah, you got to lie to yourself all the time. It's the only way to survive. Well, my brain at least. I won't speak for everyone. All right, you want to get into the workout?
Okay. So we got under pressure. It is for time. You will either do 100 strict pull-ups or 200 kipping pull-ups. And I reversed the order this time because you should only do kipping pull-ups if you can actually handle that sort of volume and torque. So I'd imagine a lot of people should be doing the 100 strict pull-ups.
What was the threshold I gave? I think last time I said 20. If you can do 20 strict pull-ups, you can do the 200 kipping version.
Yeah.
So that's the...
And the caveat is whenever you drop down from the bar, you have to do 100 double unders. So if you break them up into 10s, you're going to be doing 1,000 double unders. The 100 strict pull-ups, that is. And then time cap is 35 minutes. So yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of double unders for this.
I just love this workout so much.
This is probably one of those where you're only like a third of the way through, probably not even a third of the way through, and you're just like screaming, why?
There's no cheating it. We did talk about, wasn't it the bat method? Was this that one?
Yeah. You turn around and hang upside down.
Dropping down.
You're not dropping from the bar.
If you hang upside down like a bat, which we absolutely don't recommend, you could probably do this workout without. That would still be really hard.
Yeah.
Have you ever hung a bar on your legs? One, it hurts, like at your knees, right? And then one, it hurts, and two, it takes a lot of abdominal strength to get back up to the bar and then lower yourself back to pull-up position, do more pull-ups, and then back to that.
Well, just the energy expenditure,
95% chance you break your neck if you do that. So I'm really not recommending it for anybody, but
it would hurt. I have gravity boots that I could use, and if you have to come down off of it, like I feel like I could last 3 times for that rotation, and then I'd be like, no, I have to come down.
Yeah, what happens if
you jump rope with gravity boots on?
Yeah, I was gonna say like double unders with gravity boots would not go well.
Or if you get so fatigued you can't reach the pull-up bar anymore.
Yeah, right.
What happens?
Then you break rule number 1.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 at that one.
Rule number 2, right? You die.
Oh, right. Rule number 1 is the weight.
Yeah, that's more important than death.
Yeah, well, see that's just not. I haven't gotten that one through my head yet. Like I feel like don't die should be your first priority, but really it's don't be stronger than the weight you have. Then we'll worry about death.
Exactly.
Joe, are you done?
I didn't even know I was going, but
okay,
because the workout was done.
I even hear
he was done before he got started.
Thinking about getting stuck upside down.
I would
there's no rhyme or reason to this. Just try and get as big of sets as you can. Do your double unders and then shake it off and recover before you go back up onto the bar because your forearms are not going to be good.
Yeah, I would just say continuous movement. We do have a 35-minute time cap on it. So just continuous movement, keep going. I think we have people in the community that can finish it. I think we have people in the community that won't be finishing it. But that's the point of the time cap is hit that 35 minutes, whatever you've done in 35 minutes, you're good. Also, I'll say if you don't play Under Pressure by Queen during this workout, why are you even here? Like, why are you even doing the workout? So there's my music recommendation for the workout.
Yeah, I actually, it's been a while since I've done this one. I am going to do it this weekend, or when it's programmed. living in the future here. But I am going to do it because I haven't done it in a while, and I want to do it again because I don't know how I want to approach it. Look, I'm just going to do 5 pull-ups every time, 10 pull-ups every time. But then that's a commitment to a certain number of double unders. And it's almost like, you know what, I'd rather gamble and see what I could do. But I know I could knock out 20 plus pull-ups my first set. And then I'd be 20% of the way done, right? And I don't know what happens after that because normally after 20 pull-ups, I'm going to be a little bit spent on the pull-ups. And so that could... the opportunity cost, I could go down to only being able to do like 3 to 5. And would that have been better to try to get 7 to 10 every time? I'll have to actually work the math and see which one I think is more realistic. But I would say work the math I just did to your body, what you think that you can do. Because if you get down to 1 pull-up at a time, this workout really sucks. But you got a time cap to save you. So you can just sit there and do nothing until it hits 35 minutes if you want to be a quitter.
I mean, we've done the studies on stopping before failure. So, your 2 to 3 reps before failure might just be 15 to 16 pull-ups. So go to 15 each time.
I've done a lot of this kind of stuff though, like pull-ups and for time, like how fast can I do 100 pull-ups, strict. And I know my body pretty well in this dynamic. And I just don't think it's going to work out well for the double under version. And I think I done the kipping version because when I invented this workout was my prime Murph days. And I was able to do, I don't even remember how many. I was like 50, 60, 70 kipping pull-ups before I'd have to break from the bar. So I think I did kipping version. So it wasn't near as bad because I could actually think the minimum amount of kipping pull-ups I could do almost every time I touched the bar when I did this workout the first time was like 20. And so it wasn't actually that bad, the kipping version, but now I'd probably only ever do the strict version. And I'm not at that level currently on my pull-up game.
You weren't being mindful of future Jerred.
Yeah.
When you program this workout.
I'm probably just as good at strict pull-ups, but I'm worse at kipping pull-ups, which is an odd. I didn't know that was a skill you can like lose, but I guess you can because I'm not as good at kipping pull-ups anymore because I don't do them. Yeah. I don't really do them anymore.
It's probably because you can't, after years of fat bar or jumping up to 10-foot ceiling pole, you can't really get into a kipping groove.
Yeah, I do think when I had that rig outside, I just feel like you could rip it on those bars for kipping.
Yeah.
That giant rig and you're outside, there's no limitations. And now I'm like, I don't want to hit my face on a stud accidentally or, whatever might happen. So cool. So did I give anything helpful? Do some math, see what you think is gonna happen. Yeah. This is one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's no way to get around it, and except for the bat method, which no one's gonna try. So good luck, everyone. Well, we did kind of finish up a little bit early here. I'm sure almost no one wants to hear, but we'll do it anyway. Updates from our lives, because we haven't done that in a while since we kind of changed the show format up a little bit. But I'm interested to hear because we don't share these things in the team meeting, so I don't even know what the hell's going on with you. It's like we're a very sterile work environment currently. We're here just to work and that's it. So, Joe, you did something interesting recently. How about an update?
Yeah, I went to Georgia last week, and that would be Eastern European Georgia, not Southeastern United States Georgia. So ex-Soviet Union. It was an awesome trip. The scenery is awesome. Food is awesome. People were great, and it's super cheap there. So we really, really enjoyed Georgia and that trip. It was, well, the weather felt amazing compared to Bahrain. There were times that it was kind of hot carrying a backpack in the sun going uphill because it's a very, very hilly place. And there was super sweaty, but like it was still better than it is here. And just being able to be outside, like sit outside and enjoy outside again was really awesome. And just some things you just don't think about. So that was great.
Enjoying the weather.
Yeah, actually enjoying the weather and sitting, going and be like, oh yeah, I think I like considering sitting outside instead of like, no, I don't want to sit outside. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, lots of walking as always with vacations, but also, so this is kind of a combo with it. So just before I left, I'd started the soccer league started up in Bahrain here at the base. So we were 2 weeks in, 2 games in, and then I went to Georgia. The second game, so we play on Thursdays. We left Saturday morning, and I got like fouled really hard, taken out my ankle. I couldn't walk on it, couldn't put weight on it, swelled up, wasn't good. Rested one day, and then we go to Georgia, and we're on vacation. We just walk around all the time, and it's hot, so I'm not gonna like sit up with my foot rested because you take advantage of the time. So the entire week we was there, my foot and ankle were so fat, and like walking up hills and like cobblestone roads, it was not fun with a really, really badly hurt ankle and foot. So that really sucked. And I was also getting worried like how swollen it was for so long that I was gonna have like prolonged injury. It's like there wasn't any bruising, but I was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't know if I damaged a ligament. I don't know what it is. But after we got back, after that really, really long night of sleep, propping it up, I finally was able to see a vein in my foot again. So I think it's getting better, swelling down. It still hurts doing some things, but it's just something I'll have to monitor and probably not run for another week or two and see what happens. So yeah.
So don't hurt your foot and ankle and then go for marathon walks every day and not get any sleep. Got it.
Yeah. This is weird. I think I even said it in our team chat. I think it was after the first game or before the second game. I was like, yeah, I've started soccer, by the way. I wonder how long it'll take me to get injured. There it is. So I go hard, with workouts. There's a governor. With team sports, I have no governor.
I've been giving you crap about it for years.
Yeah, except I can't tell you for sure if I got into zone 5 because I'm not allowed to wear my Garmin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to wear a watch.
Wear a heart rate strap and leave the Garmin on like in your bag. It'll still pick
I was thinking about putting it in my pocket and having the strap on when I remember next time.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle, what's up with you?
Well, just like old times, Joe has a really long, awesome update. And
look, I have an exciting life. All right.
You can air fryer again.
People care.
I got a second air fryer. No.
Damn, that wins.
Every time he goes on an awesome trip, you get a great new home appliance.
No, Hannah and I are running a 10K this weekend. Nice. So she ran cross country in high school and used to really enjoy the long distance running. And so she's wanting to get back into that. So we did a 5K back in October. And so now she's wanting to up the commitment a little bit to a 10K. So we're going to do that this weekend. Well, by the time this publishes, we will have already run it. But anyway, this weekend, 10K. So we'll see how that goes.
I feel like in 2 years, you'll be running a marathon.
Nope. Nope. She's talking about working up to a half. And I'm like, I will cheer you on for the half marathon. I think 10K.
You should do a half at the end of BCT. I'll do it with you.
Well, okay. So
I don't want to.
Time out.
I don't want to run that far.
Is this another track marathon, half marathon, or are you actually going to go somewhere fun and do it?
Half marathon? I'll do a half marathon anywhere. Marathon, not whatever. Half marathon. Come on. You could do that right now.
I mean, half marathon, yeah, I could do a lot of places.
I'm not doubting that I could do it. I'm saying I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to run that far.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin doesn't get you through a marathon.
Yeah. I don't have Led Zeppelin on my playlist. That's a good idea, though. I need to add something. I'm going to go do that. Science. All right, Jerred, your update.
Oh, wow. That was it?
Okay. I told you. I'm
gonna play Jedi mind tricks on you to get you to run a half. You're actually coming to Dallas in a few months. We'll probably I'd be like, hey man, we're going for a run. And you won't know how far we're going. Turnaround point 7 miles.
I'm not bringing
so you can't call an Uber.
I'm not bringing running shoes to Dallas. So
I got plenty. Okay. I don't have a lot of updates. HQ, the office build, it's going, whatever. It's taken forever. I feel like that's always the update, but they're really close to finish. It's all these tiny little like small things. I'm actually confused about why I'm not allowed to go in there. Can I go? Come on, can I go in? It's mine. No, you're not allowed yet.
Sit in a lawn chair right outside of it, just like, come on, guys.
Well, I told our contractor, I was like, the biggest thing is the floors have to be finished or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go in there with like a card table and a laptop. I won't like set up shop like a permanent furniture move in. I'm just going to go in there with my basics. And he's like, okay, you can do that. But the biggest thing, and it's on me, I haven't called to get the internet run out there. So that's the biggest limiting factor currently. I did it. I called that. They've come multiple times and then they tell me that the building is not ready, but then they wouldn't tell me when it would be ready. They'd be like, no, you're not ready to hook it up yet. So I'm just kind of waiting till the end, but yeah, that's it. It will be done soon enough. The only other cool thing, I got a trap bar, which is,
I see. I called that last time. Do I get one now?
Yeah.
Maybe in the works.
Maybe when you get back to the US, not shipping one to Bahrain.
No, my car's in Texas. I have to drive from Texas to California anyway. So
you're just going to take my trap bar.
You know your own address. You can get another one.
But I don't know where it went.
It's been pretty cool. I've just been we started adding a little bit of deadlifts, or I did, into the BCT programming on top of squatting, and I don't really want to do regular deadlift right now with my back. It's fine, but I'm trying to keep it fine, and so I added some trap bar. And it is a very, it's not the first time I've ever lifted one, but it's been a while. It is a very different stimulus. It's like, I messaged Kyle the other day and I was like, it's like a half between a squat and a deadlift. It's That's very weird. Yeah. And I've been using the higher one, like the one from Rogue. There's two, like you can flip it to where you have to bend down super low, or the higher handles. I've been using the higher handles, and you have to keep your back kind of straight like a squat, but then you're not going super low, kind of like a deadlift. You don't have to bend all the way down, but you do with a squat. So not as much hamstring involvement, but it's cool. I've been enjoying it. We'll see if it makes me more explosive, as the research and science says. So there you go. That's it. All the updates from me.
Very nice.
Cool.
That was fun.
Yeah. Been a while. Well, we'll get out of here. If you are one of our athletes, you'd probably have to have made it to the end through our updates without turning the show off. We do appreciate it, and you're awesome for being part of the community. If you are at the end of this podcast and you are not one of our athletes, wow. So go ahead and sign up, because you're doing the thing. You're learning the stuff. You're hearing trivial information from the team. It is time to become a part of this organization. And you can do that at GarageGymAthlete.com. You can sign up for a 14-day free trial. Try out the training. Don't worry so much about the session order. Just get the work done, and that'll be it. So that's it for today. And the reminder, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. To the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to GarageGymAthlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.